Welcome to Brooker Bonsai, and today we're going to be doing some air layer on this privet. So let's zoom you in and take a look. So here's a close-up of the air layers, one traditional bagged and one off-the-shelf pod. But first, let's take a look at the tree. We've got a really nice thick trunk, and this will become a really nice bonsai over time. The tree has been allowed to grow tall and vigorous over the past few years, and it's even flowering, which is a really good sign. So today we're going to air layer off some branches. Here is one example where we're going to ring the bark and then remove the cadmium layer. So for this, first we'll need to get a knife. It really helps if it's sharp, and you have to remember where your top cut is where the roots will form. So I want my root base to begin around here, so I begin to ring the trunk. Ringing the trunk actually stops the flow of nutrients from the leaves back down into the roots. So you want to make sure that you leave some branches that aren't rung, because that will end up killing off the roots. What happens is that starches build up over time above the cut, and as the energy builds, roots start to form. So to encourage roots to grow from this area, first we ring the bark like you can see here, and then strip it away, running the knife from top to bottom. And this will allow for the collar to just peel off really nicely and really clean, as you can see here. The cadmium layer is really bright and green, so it's a good sign that the tree is super healthy and vigorous. I repotted this tree about 3 years ago, and privets grow really well from even just cutting, so I expect a high success rate. Next, I'll work my knife around the edge, just scraping the wood to make sure that there's no fibrous cadmium layer strips there, because if there are, the tree will heal across that wound and I won't get any roots at all. So scraping the knife like so just ensures that we're severed all of that connection to the roots. The leaves will still be able to draw water up through the trunk into the leaves, so the top part of the branch should stay really healthy. So once we've wrung the trunk, it's time to get our moss. If we don't create a nice damp area within that ring that we've created, it will just dry out and die. So by attaching sphagnum moss to this area, it allows us to keep the humidity high and promote healthy root growth. Here's just a pack that I bought offline, no sponsorship. So I just add the moss into the water, giving it a really good stir and just setting it aside to absorb that water over time. Whilst that's sitting, I'm going to take some root hormone and create a really thick paste. This is really essential because it will again help create that healthy root base and promote that root growth. Adding the powder, I'll just mix it in until I've got quite a thick paste. You can see here it's a little bit runny, so I'm going to add a little bit more, which I'm not too worried about, as I'm probably going to do 5 or 6 air layers today. So once I've mixed this together, you'll see it's a really nice thick paste like this, and that's what you're looking for. I use a chopstick to apply this to the tree, but when it's a thick paste like this, you can even use your fingers, and often that's quite easy too. So we're back now at the cutting, at the air layer. I'm just going to paste this paste onto the ring that I've made all the way around the tree. From this privet that I got a few years ago, it's doubled in size since I got it, and I'll probably get 8 or 9 really kind of healthy, vigorous bonsai off this that I can then begin to ramify into really nice small shohin bonsai. So now that the paste is fixed around, I'm going to add the sphagnum moss. The first one here is the traditional style, so I'm going to use a piece of raffia and just wrap it around the moss, and this will hold it onto the trunk to ensure that that area stays really nice and moist. The advantage of raffia over wire here is that over time the raffia will disintegrate when it's wet. So as the roots grow into the moss, they'll hold it in place. And unlike wire, you're less likely to get root scarring or any damage to the roots in that area. So I'd always recommend raffia in this point over wire. So I'm just working the raffia around so that it'll hold it nice and sturdy in place. And you'll notice that the branch is actually tied to the fence because the tree's got so tall now and the pot can dry out really quickly. And often I've found on windy days, I've come outside and the tree's blown over. So now that we've got the moss attached, I want to come in and I'm going to add another layer of moss that's a bit looser, and then wrap that in plastic, and that'll hold it all in place. The plastic will help increase the humidity and prevent water loss, but when I'm attaching it, I need to make sure that there's enough space at the top for rainwater to fall in, and also enough space at the bottom for it to drain out. If you create this too airtight, over time, water won't be able to penetrate into the air layer, and even with a watering can, you'll really struggle to get water in there. On hot days, the air layer will evaporate water outwards, and you'll end up with a really dry root ball, and this will cause the air layer to fail. So wrapping it in plastic like this just ensures that it keeps enough humidity in but allows for water to come in and out of the root base. Because it's quite thin plastic, I find that if a lot of light can get down into this area, that it doesn't often promote healthy or vigorous roots to form. So what I like to do is also wrap a thicker, more darker light blocking piece of plastic around at the end. And again, this just ensures that it stays nice and dark and humid in that area. The additional layer of plastic also protects the roots. So if this tree was to blow over again, or I'm transporting it somewhere, it's a lot more protected and those fragile roots will remain untouched. So as the final step, like with the other layers, I'll just tie it off with a raffia, again holding it in place. And that's the traditional style air layer all ready to go. The final step is to just come in and give it a bit of water. Not too much because the root hormone might wash off, but also just to test that the water flows out nicely. Moving up the tree, we're now going to be doing this more standardized air layer with an off-the-shelf air layer kit that I bought. So again, the processes start the same, with ringing the trunk with a really sharp knife all the way round to sever that cadmium layer. Once that's all been removed, I'll then do the bottom layer and draw a line between the two and peel it off. And again, you can see it's really nice and bright and green. So a good, healthy sign that the tree is vigorous and able to take this kind of treatment. And similar to the other air layer, I'm going to come in with that root paste and just paste it around that top strip, hoping that it will promote healthy root growth. And no privet are really vigorous, so this hormone probably doesn't make too much of a difference. I've also taken some cuttings off the top and just popped them into soil with no hormone or anything, so I'd be interested to see if they root over summer. Be important to keep coming back to these air layers over time and just ensuring that they're watered regularly so that the roots don't dry out. So the next step is to take that sphagnum moss and to fill each half of the air layer packet like this. I don't want it to be packed too tight because this can mean that it stays sodden for too long, but loose enough but that it fills the whole cone. Coming back in, I'll attach it to the trunk so that the strip that I've just added some root hormone is about a third down into the moss, and this will ensure that it stays really damp. I then will come in and just tie the wire around the tree. I did initially put it around the top, but I was concerned that if the air layer grew quickly, I might end up with trunk scarring. So I've actually decided for the bottom one that I'll wrap that around the trunk, because if the wire bites in there, it doesn't matter, I'll be pruning that away. And that'll just hold the air layer in place, nice and snug. And again, the final step, just like before, is just to add a bit of water and test it drains out the bottom with no issues. So off camera, I did quite a few of these, as you can see, I think 6 in total. So I'll have lots of little bonsai trees ready by autumn time. So if you've made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.